Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, best place for long-term stock investors. Now, this week, we'll be talking about CANONE, that pump, quite interesting. Then we'll talk about dnonce, something very either interesting, maybe even fishy is happening. And then last, we're going to talk about Silterra's issues with the MACC. Is this going to be a big problem or is it going to be a small problem?
Struggling to build your 6 to 7 figure portfolio and don't know where to start? We have a masterclass just for you, and the registration is in the comment section below.
Okay, John. So we start off with CANONE. So, on the screen, you can see, right? The stock has gone up 30% over the past month. Pretty decent.
Yep.
And, if you go to the next slide. Before we begin, actually, there's something interesting you want to talk about, right? Which is the next slide.
Yeah, I mean, this is prior to this increase or pump, there was already a buyout offer actually. And the buyout offer price was like 250, whereas the deemed fair value was 9 ringgit 77. So that's quite a big discount. So this isn't, there's been a lot of, boardroom kind of movement. I wouldn't even say a tussle, just boardroom movement in CANONE. And, we wouldn't do justice. I think it's better you guys go and Google and read about it. But it's been a company that has undergone a lot of change. I think the board wanted, saw certain directors within the board saw value and they wanted to, to take control of it. But obviously it was the independent directors actually rejected the offer because of this discount. So,
Yeah. But, I have not much to comment on that, but it'd be very interesting to see why the fair value, at least according to the Star, or rather according to this article, is 977. That's like a massive discount, right? But anyway, the reason it pumped was, the stock went up 30% in like what? Let me check again.
It's about a month plus,
in about a month, right? Yeah. So, because the economics are improving, right? So if you look at pre-tax profits, they were roughly 25 million in the red. And then after that, there's this huge 70 million difference, and now they're at 56 million for the quarter.
Yeah.
And when you accumulate up these the 2 quarters, right? I believe second quarter, 39 million they were losing, and then now it's 96 million. So I think
that's pre-tax though.
Pre-tax, yes, correct. So then the one highlighted is the net income when you take into account the taxes. So what is also interesting is that actually the operating cash flow is not as good as we would like.
Yeah.
Partly because if you see on the screen, they've made a lot of sales, but they've not collected the cash. So I don't think this is a big problem personally. If I'm CANONE shareholder, they are most probably going to collect the cash.
Correct.
But, this is something we need to look at because, I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe the clients, a lot of these are, really big guys because they do canning, aluminium cans, jerry cans, things like that. So people might drag their receivables and just look out for it, because it's already 2 years since. And
even there was a big change in inventory also, MJ.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. That makes sense. And that actually, so this is where it gets interesting, right?
Correct.
Because on one hand, you can say they've not collected the cash, operating cash flow is low. On the other hand, you look at the inventory here, negative 137 million. It looks bad, but if you think about it, if you're buying more inventory, it means that the managers think that the industry is
they're forecasting a recovery and they're stocking up.
They're basically,
exactly.
They're stocking up, right? Yeah. And so the question is, for me, is that realistic or not, right? Management doing. And I think by and large it is, because if you look at the industry that they're in, the reason why that they've had problems in 2020, like many companies, because there was an enforced shutdown.
That's right.
Right? So once that got lifted, then you can see everything went up. Like the net revenue grew by 19%, mostly because of the general packaging industry. And so, in front of my screen here, right, they say mainly is because their Myanmar aluminium plant is able to support. So it's actually the aluminium part of the general cans that's really pushing this thing forward. So before I move on, right, I want to get your thoughts on the company.
Yeah, you remember we covered, was it Carlsberg? Carlsberg 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll include a link to the video in the top right, you know. Yeah, okay, I get my orientation that way, right?
Yeah, that way, yeah.
So their sales have improved. You know, I think it was comparatively last year's quarter to this year's quarter, I think it was a triple. And you know, as you rightly pointed out, aluminium, consumers are starting to spend even more than when there was a lockdown. I feel that as people's, not to say that they did not spend for food during the pandemic, but I think people were more afraid, more fearful of, you know, discretionary spending.
Yep.
And now with slightly opening up the sectors and all that, confidence is coming back. You see people getting jobs back. I don't have the latest statistics for the job market, but the US has seen an increase in the job market, right? And I feel that this business is an evergreen business, you know, MJ.
That's right.
Yeah, and I feel there's another trend that will support it is that, you know, when we were looking into Nestle, I think a few years ago, consumer behavior are starting to change more towards ready to eat, ready to drink.
Right,
RTD, yeah. And I think that augurs well for businesses like CanOne because convenience is a form that most urbanites want today. And and when people want convenience, that means plastic guys, packaging guys, aluminium guys will definitely benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very hard to disrupt industry.
Correct.
Think about it, right? It's not.
It's boring. It's boring, but you know.
So yeah, I think that's you know, and as a shareholder, I'm not a shareholder to be clear, but if I were a shareholder, certainly you know, I can't say whether it's a good investment, but certainly, and even as a general point, the economy is recovering.
Correct.
Right. Already we are able to dine in and things like that. So you've got the double kind of growth engine of they can open their plants and people are going to start going out to buy some of these ready to make drinks or canned stuff and all that. Right?
Yes.
So yeah. All right, guys. If you've been watching the videos for a while now, you know that, you know, we accept research reports. If you do it really well, you know, we'll consider adding you into our research team. So just send it to the email right here. But of course, remember, don't just ask us of our opinion on a stock. Actually do your research, and then we can give feedback. And plus points if you can do it in Google Doc or Google Sheet form so that we can actually give our comments straight away without having to send emails back and forth. Okay, John, next we have dnonce. Actually, I don't even know how to pronounce it. So guys, if you're in the, you know, in the comments, just tell us how to. So there's a D, then there's a apostrophe, and it sounds very French.
Yeah.
Right?
Dnonce.
I don't know, man. So I'm not going to even go and try. But yeah, anyway, you know, the price chart, right? It's basically down 1% over the year. And it caught our attention because a lot of the group chats that we were in were talking about how, you know, it was 45 cents in May, and then suddenly it crept up to by almost like 30 or 35%, whatever it is, to in August, and it dropped again and it went up again.
Yep.
So you know, some of our friends were saying that something maybe even fishy is happening.
Something's brewing.
Something's brewing.
Yeah.
So you know, before we give our thoughts, right, maybe you want to walk us through really what's happening and why do you think any of this is happening?
Okay, so I think the buyer, there was acquisition by this company called Systemization. For those of you who have been invested into the Glove Mania 2020, you will know that virtually everyone tried to get on board the Glove Mania. You've got guys like Mas Singh, you've got guys like, you know, who were not the bread and butter. So Systemization was one of them. And it caught our eye because dnonce business is more towards component and packaging. And there was not really any much synergy into Systemization's business. And here they are, they're acquiring it at, you know, 80 cents, which is a huge premium compared to, I think, the last traded price of about 65 cents. So that was a big jump. And they acquired 25.9%. And what also caught my eye when I was researching it, MJ, was that they're acquiring it for, it's an all-cash offer.
Who? Okay.
Yeah, all-cash offer, 64.96, 65 million. Okay. So then I want to dig a little bit deeper about the acquisition trail of what FD Systemization has done. And this is not in recent years, that means it's the past 2 years. This is not the first time they're trying to acquire a company. They made an offer for this company called SDON. And they made an offer on the 11th of March 2021.
Okay.
50 cents. All cash offer also. All right. So I try to calculate at 127 million, if you can see on the screen, let's say 130 million, 50 cents a share, half of it is 65 million cash, right? But then in August, which was a few months later down the road, they rescinded their offer. They pulled it back. So the whole deal fell through, right? Here comes the crunch. If you're going to acquire a company for an all-cash offer, how much cash do you have?
Yeah.
Right? How much cash do you have, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I went back to take a few years and try to look at how much cash that I had. And if you can see, 2017, 9 million, 2018, about 9.6.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot, right? And cash can come in many forms. I think one way is it can either come through retained earnings, which is where most good companies will actually get their cash from. But in this case, in AT Systemization's case, it was actually through a rights issue. So that's why if you see 2020 to 2021, there was a huge jump in cash. So if you're just a normal investor, don't really know how to read a balance sheet, right? And you just read a report that says, oh, this company's net cash. All right, net cash. 97.5 million. But if you didn't take a time series to actually find out where the cash is coming from, you never pick this up. Where did the cash come from? Can you imagine you're a company making probably 1 million in cash on average, and then all of a sudden you have
get a lot, right? Yeah, obviously it's going to jump out. Right?
Yeah, it's going to jump out at you, and they raise it through rights. And this is where I want to highlight to a lot of people that you have to know whether this, for me, you have to know whether this cash was through an organic growth. Meaning, I would want to buy a business that spurts off so much cash, free cash, and that money they use to buy another company. That means organically from the business. One company that I would think on the other extreme that did not have that much cash and then they went to acquire was Yinsen. They actually used a lot of rights. Remember we covered it? They used a lot of rights. But then they actually had evidences or they proved themselves that they knew how to manage this cash well. They went to buy or they went to acquire FPSOs and brought in the cash. But where's the track record of AT Systemization when it comes to the moment you give a capital allocator money, does that person actually have a track record in building up?
Using that money.
And this is where, if you look at it, I think the Edge, kudos to them, shout out to the Edge. They came out a very interesting article about the penny stock scandal. And one company that came to light, was this company called Focus Dynamics. And, the joke that we had in our SIB group, MJ, was actually, I thought it was the Tan Teng Boo's, what's Tan Teng Boo's name? Company?
The Capital Dynamics.
Capital Dynamics, correct. It caught my eye because I looked at it, focused that, I thought it was something to do with Tan Teng Boo, but it wasn't. And it was actually linked to this penny stock scandal. At a peak, 5.1 billion. And you're talking about...
Mr. Tan won't be too happy that you made that connection. But okay, anyway, continue.
Yeah, so 5.1 billion at its peak. Year to date, 395% gain. And today, market cap is 382 million. So fantastic, man. I mean, we won't go into detail about Focus Dynamics and their business and all that. We shared very in a very detailed form to our SIB private group because we actually use this as a case study to spot things in the balance sheet, in the cash flow statement that just jumped out at us. That's right. Yeah, so I guess what we're trying to say here is that when you read the financial statements, make sure you link all of them together rather than just pick and pick and choose what people tell you. It's like, oh, they tell you it's a net cash company. Oh, okay. Where did the cash come from? Go follow the time series and do your own investigation rather than just take information at face value. I think that's what I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, remember to share it with your friends, give it a like, give us any comments, good and bad, we'll take all of them. And of course, if you're subscribed, remember to click on the notification bell so that you know when new videos come out immediately. Okay, next, we talk about Silterra DNonce, right? Recently, there was an issue that Silterra had with MACC. But what I find interesting is that usually when bad things happen like that, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
But when I look at the chart for DNonce, it's pretty mellow, right?
Yeah.
It's down about 6% a month. The 5 days is only down 2.67%. To be fair, as of the 10th of September, it did have like a
Slight
a relatively steep drop, 4%.
Yeah.
But that's about it, right? So, what have you gathered from this issue?
I think we first talked about DNonce, when was it? The acquisition, which was about 2 months ago.
Yeah, maybe three, about 3-4 months ago.
Yeah. Check out the videos that
we've talked about it. Talked about DNonce a few times already.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do this time was to get deep, to go deeper and try to understand how accretive would DNonce's acquisition of Silterra be. It means how much would the top line be added to if the acquisition, because the accounts are not consolidated yet. They changed financial year. It was, for DNonce is usually in December. They've now changed it to June. So that's why you don't get the 2020 numbers. The only audited numbers is 2019. So top line's roughly about 290 million. Net income, 30 million. Cash for operations, roughly about 9.7 as of 2019. Here, I think it was Malaysian Reserve, and thank God they covered it. If not, we had to buy SSM data to try to figure out how much Silterra made, because it's not publicly listed. Silterra made a revenue of 556 million in December 2020.
That's right.
Okay. Loss after tax, 64 million. Of operating cash flow, roughly about 22. Okay. About 22. And DNonce acquired 60%. So I plugged them into the numbers and I tried to figure out if we were to look at the 60% revenue contribution from Silterra to DNonce, it would be roughly about 25%. 25%. So it would be quite big. I mean,
it's quite big, actually.
It's quite big. Actually, I was quite surprised. I would thought that it would be, because DNonce, they're into IT, they have the single window software with the customs department, they're into Pink Petroleum. It's more like a conglomerate. And I was like thinking Silterra probably would be like 10%, my guess. Next thing I know, when I calculated, it's quite accretive lah. Yeah. So I did some. I haven't plotted into a graph, but I did some calculation, fact checking on their cash. They try to buy the whole thing in 163 million, but MJ, they don't have that kind of cash on the balance sheet actually. So
of course,
yeah. So most likely they were either bank borrowings or maybe through a rights. It could be, but we'll see. I think 25%, let's see how, the investigation goes. Hopefully it's not too bad that day-to-day operations are not impacted for Silterra, and then hopefully they can manage to turn it around. That's my hope. Any thoughts, MJ?
Not much, but I would say that I think as investors, when we hear like words like MACC or SC question, try not to react. And to be fair, the market has not reacted, which is good, right? Because no one knows the reports yet, right? What is the probe exactly? That said, do pay attention, right? Because we don't know what the questioning is about. And really, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, they said they want to buy it all in cash, or?
Yeah, to be satisfied entirely in cash.
Entirely in cash, right? So, but they don't have the cash.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And yeah, overall, I think we have to go back to the business, right, to see whether or not because at the end of the day, if the business is good, right, and we were explaining this to our SIB members just a couple of days ago on Saturday, right? At the end of the day, right, when someone wants to be scammy about things, because that's really the
Objective.
the issue, the worry here, right? If you're a shareholder for dnonce, is that are they trying to do hanky panky or anything? But at the end of the day, if the business is good, why would they want to?
Why would they want to play around? With
Because
all
they can make more money in the business than actually play around, right? So ultimately, go back to whether Silterra is good. I remember, I think in our previous quick dives, they are the niche player. They have a decent business, but it's not TSMC.
Yes,
I know they don't like to be compared to TSMC,
but then they're struggling because
for reference, in terms of business quality.
Correct. And they're struggling in terms because they've not done huge capex runs over the past years. So, I think in the technology semiconductor space, if you don't do capex capex exercises, you're going to be left out. I think that's the struggle. Yeah.
All right, guys. This is the end of our quick dive, short and sweet this time. To be fair, John, it's been pretty quiet for the Malaysian market. No big things, right? No server dynamic,
no big IPOs.
Yeah. So you guys give us a lot of ideas, right? Sometimes we miss out certain news.
Yeah.
So just tell us in the comment section, what we should cover next. And if you enjoyed the video, remember give it a like, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow us on our social media, right? TikTok, Telegram, Facebook, Instagram, and see you in the next video.
See you guys. Bye.